Good evening, Jessica Harmson with ABC News. South Australia is in the dark tonight with power out across the state. Extreme weather has damaged critical parts of the electricity network. In what could be one of the worst storms to lash the state in decades, storm force winds and gusts in excess of 100 kilometres an hour have torn roofs from buildings and demolished power lines and trees. As heavy rain continues, concern is now turning to the flooding which could follow. For more on the power outage, reporter Alina Ecott joins us now live from Victoria Square in the CBD. Alina, do we know what's caused the blackout?
Well, Jess, it looks like a transmission fault in the interconnector with Victoria has caused these massive blackouts across the state. It's left the entire state in darkness, and here in the CBD, things are completely black. And a lot of people aren't really sure how they're even going to get home, and it looks like we could be without power for several hours to come. The Premier Jay Weatherill spoke to the media a short time ago. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
Our advice at the moment is that due to a weather event, 3 transmission lines and 9 towers have been taken down in the Port Augusta region. Due to the large frequency drop, the interconnector isolated South Australia from the rest of the national electricity market as per the usual protocols. There are a number of important things to make clear. South Australia's backup baseload generation are now repowering the system. This is a process which needs to be undertaken gradually. People should be aware that this could be an extended outage and should stay off the roads if at all possible. People should check on loved ones if they are able to see whether they are okay.
Obviously a long night ahead for SA Power Networks and the SES. Alina, what's the weather like where you are?
Well, Jess, for the last couple of hours it hasn't been too bad here, although the rain is starting to pick up a little bit now, as is the wind. It's really quite eerie in the city here. Traffic has been absolutely gridlocked with all the traffic lights out and police officers doing their best to direct traffic, but it's likely to take some people hours to get home. And coupled with that is the fact that the outages have also brought a lot of public transport to a standstill. There are trams sitting here in Victoria Square and a lot of trains are also not running. Now, of course, these outages come on the back of the very severe weather that has lashed the state today. Heavy rain, severe thunderstorms. For a look at all of that, Nicola Gage filed this report.
A blanket of hail covered streets on the Eyre Peninsula as the huge storm front cut power to the entire state. Heavy rain and gale force winds smashed South Australia from mid-morning, bringing down trees and causing widespread flash flooding. Adelaide city centre was brought to a standstill, with blackouts halting trams, some rail services and traffic lights. A lightning strike toppled this tree at Myrtle Bank, sending it crashing into a house.
The tree seems to have exploded and come down into the house, taking another tree with it. It's gone through our kitchen windows and through a bedroom.
Hailstorms damaged properties and crops were also lashed. With water levels rising, residents in the foothills are frantically sandbagging, preparing for the worst.
The catchments are at a peak saturation level, and so we'll see any rain that hits the ground flow through quickly.
The most significant risk to life still remains motor vehicle accidents in conditions that could be treacherous on our roads.
Thrill seekers made the most of huge swells at Port Lincoln before the conditions became dangerous. The rare weather system is predicted to be the worst storm South Australia has seen in half a century. It's been caused by an intense low-pressure system. Just under 20,000 emergency services personnel are on standby, with extra help on the way.
And we have 2 strike teams being made available to us from West Australia. They're currently inbound, and we're looking to have them in field on operations tomorrow.
The weather system is expected to move closer tomorrow. Nicola Gage, ABC News.
So a very long night ahead for emergency services and residents. Jess, I'll be back with an update at the end of the bulletin.
The whole of South Australia is without power tonight as wild weather lashes the state. Winds in excess of 100 kilometres an hour have damaged critical power infrastructure, triggering the statewide blackout. Reporter Alina Ecott joins us now live from Adelaide. And Alina, what's triggered the power failure?
Well, it looks like a transmission fault in the interconnector with Victoria has caused this massive blackout that has left the entire state of South Australia without power. Here in the Adelaide CBD, it's quite an eerie feeling. It's completely black, all the traffic lights are out, police are doing their best to help direct traffic, but things are basically gridlocked. It's going to take some people hours to get home tonight. Others are just wandering the streets, not really sure how they're going to get home at the moment because the outage is also affecting public transport. Trams are at a standstill and also a lot of trains aren't running. So a very long night ahead for South Australians.
Alina, the weather radar looked frightening this afternoon as the system crossed the Spencer Gulf. How severe is the weather at the moment and how long is this power outage expected to last?
Yeah, it was very wild weather across South Australia today. Here in the metropolitan area, we've had some very heavy rain and high winds, a lot of trees brought down, but the weather was particularly fierce in the regional parts of the state. In some areas, they had wind gusts of up to 140 kilometres per hour, along with heavy rain and even hail. And at the moment in the CBD, it's not too bad, but unfortunately, that rain is expected to continue throughout the night and into tomorrow, and that's going to make things even more difficult with these outages. At this stage, the authorities can't tell us when we're going to have power again, but there are some estimates that it's not going to be until the early hours of tomorrow morning.
Alina Ecott, thank you and good luck for the long night ahead.
Let's turn now to the Adelaide Hills, where there was a slight reprieve from the wild weather before that new system came through. But as reporter Alina Ecott found out, several rivers did burst their banks and some schools were forced to close.
The Onkaparinga River today surged through the hills, cutting off this property at Woodside and blocking several roads, including the main route along Mount Barker Road from the southeastern freeway to Verdun. There were some periods of rain, but also bursts of sunshine, providing a welcome break from the severe weather. In Aldgate, a house suffered severe damage when this massive tree fell on the roof. Nearby, another came down on a CFS vehicle. At Mount Compass, the area school opened despite still being without power. Many children were taken home again by their parents, but those that stayed were still catered for.
We're fine with water, toilets are all fine, so we've just got a makeshift program today.
We've been told that the weather's pretty bad and there's probably more to come, so we're going to go take my little brother out of school, go get him some food, take him home.
In the calm before the next storm, in particular warnings of high winds from the south, people were advised to get themselves and their families home as early as possible.
We're also recommending that people who have non-essential driving activities consider not undertaking those activities and remaining off the road network.
Communities bracing for the next burst of wild weather in what's been a violent start to spring. Alina Ecott, ABC News, Adelaide.
And Alina's been chasing the weather all over the city today. This evening she was near the Padawalonga in Glenelg North inspecting how the beachside suburbs are faring.
Well, as you can see, the winds are very strong here at Glenelg and there's also been some rain coming down. It's difficult to even stand up in these conditions. The Padawalonga is very full and is continuing to rise. Earlier, police door-knocked houses here along Adelphi Terrace and encouraged residents to prepare for potential flooding. Many people have chosen to sandbag their properties. There's been a severe weather warning for destructive winds in place now for several hours, and unfortunately the Weather Bureau says things are only going to get worse. That second intense low is making its way up past Kangaroo Island and is expected to reach Adelaide at about 9 o'clock tonight. The Bureau is expecting strong to gale force winds of around 90 kilometres here in Adelaide, but other parts of the state are going to be dealt an even worse hand. They're predicting that over the next 3 to 6 hours, Kangaroo Island, York Peninsula and the mid-north are going to be battered by winds of up to 130 kilometres per hour. This system is also causing very high tides along beaches, and it's expected that some low-lying areas may be flooded around Outer Harbour. There's a lot of concern about the damage that this system is going to cause, particularly coming off the back of the last couple of days.
Growers in the northern Adelaide Plains are continuing to clean up and count the cost after floods devastated crops across the region. About 1,500 hectares have been flooded, causing damage running into the tens of millions of dollars. The South Australian produce market says the cost of fresh produce shouldn't rise, but it will take a month for growers to recover.
These cauliflower plants were just about to be harvested when the floodwater inundated Frank Muzzolino's property.
Come through the paddock into the cauliflowers and there was nothing we could do. But we never thought it'd get that bad. It was very bad. I think it's the worst one we've had.
He's lost about 200,000 plants worth around $400,000. It'll take 5 weeks before production can be resumed.
You just wait until it dries up and chop them in and start again. We're lucky we've saved some, the younger ones, but these are all buggered.
Attention across the Adelaide Plains region is turning to recovery, where it's believed about $40 million worth of crops have been lost.
A lot of them don't have flood insurance and those kinds of things, so it's important now that as a community we support them as well.
The state government has appointed Alex Zimmerman to coordinate the recovery effort, a former police officer who also headed up efforts in the wake of last year's Pinery bushfire. Mr Muzzolino says work must be done on the Gawler River.
That whole river's got to be cleaned out. Right? They've got to start from Gawler and work their way out. And I don't think it's a big deal. I think it can be done.
A watch and act message remained in place for the river today, but the Weather Bureau expects all flood warnings to come to an end soon, bringing to a close one of the most sustained severe weather events the state has seen.
Severe thunderstorm and severe warnings, we've had about 48 of those messages through the period, about 80 flood messages in warnings, watches and summaries, and over 80 warnings in terms of road weather, sheep graziers, marine and aviation forecasts. So we've been very busy.
And it's thought the heavy rain may have contributed to a sinkhole that opened up beneath a car at Glen Osmond. 2 people were inside the car when it was swallowed up by the hole on Sunnyside Road. Neither of them were injured. Alina Ecott, ABC News, Adelaide.